Stella held his cold hand one last time before the ceremony. The judge was already waiting. She looked at his serene, unconscious face and whispered with a choked voice, "I don't know if you'll forgive me for this." The nurse adjusted the sheet. Eleanor gazed at her watch. The trust fund stipulation would expire in 48 hours, and she was about to marry a man who didn't even know her name. Before we dive into this story, leave your comment with a rating from 1 to 10 and tell us which city you're watching from. May this moment bring reflection and emotion to your heart. The afternoon sun beat down hard on the yard of Reyes Auto Repair when Stella wiped her hands on the old rag she carried in her coverall pocket. She was finishing an oil change on a pickup truck when she heard the sound of thin heels clicking on the concrete floor. She looked up and saw a woman who completely clashed with the environment. Her hair was pulled back in an impeccable bun, expensive tailored clothes, an upright posture, a figure that belonged to another world. "I'm looking for Stella Reyes," the woman said, stopping a few feet from her. Stella wiped her hands again suspiciously. "That's me. What do you need, ma'am?" The woman took a deep breath, like someone about to deliver difficult news. "My name is Eleanor Thorne. I need to speak with you about a delicate matter. It's about your father." Stella felt her stomach clench. Her father, Javier Reyes, had died 10 years ago. A manual laborer, a simple man who had raised her alone after her mother left when Stella was a child. What kind of conversation about him could emerge after so long? "My dad died years ago. If this is about some old debt, I have nothing to do with it." "It's not about debts," Eleanor said firmly. "It's about his family, the family you never knew." She paused. "Javier had another son before you, a son with my sister Beatrice." Stella felt the ground drop out from under her feet. "What do you mean, another son? My dad never..." "He never told you because Beatrice and he separated even before the child was born. She was from a traditional family here in Los Angeles, and when she discovered the pregnancy, my parents prevented any contact between them. Javier was a factory worker, and for my family that was unacceptable." Eleanor sighed. "He didn't even know he had a son for years. When he finally found out, Beatrice had already married another man, who adopted the boy as his own." Stella leaned against the workbench, trying to process it all. A half-brother. She had a half-brother she never knew. "And why are you telling me this now, after all this time?" "Because he needs you," Eleanor replied, her voice finally revealing a weakness. "Your brother, Julian Thorne, suffered a car accident 3 weeks ago. He's in a coma at Westview Medical Center, and the situation is more complicated than you imagine." Stella's legs trembled. She pulled up a stool and sat down. "I don't even know this guy. Why would I need to?" "Because my father, Julian's grandfather, left a trust fund with a specific stipulation. Julian must be married by his 35th birthday, or everything goes to charity." Eleanor walked closer to her. "Julian turns 35 in 2 days. He's unconscious, and the doctors don't know when he'll wake up." Stella shook her head, disbelief washing over her. "You're telling me that?" "I'm asking you to marry him," Eleanor interrupted. "On paper, only on paper. To ensure he doesn't lose everything he's worked his entire life for, Julian built an environmental restoration company that employs over 100 families. If he loses his inheritance, he also loses control of the company, and many people will be unprotected." "This is insane. I barely know you. I've never even seen this man, and you want me to marry him?" Eleanor opened her purse and took out an envelope. "Here are documents that prove everything. His birth certificate, your father's death certificate, a DNA test we did years ago when Beatrice finally told Julian the truth. He discovered Javier was his biological father shortly before my father passed away. He wanted to find you, but you had moved out of the city and he ended up postponing it." Stella took the papers with trembling hands. She looked at the documents, read the names, saw the signatures. Everything seemed real. Everything seemed impossible at the same time. "And what do I get out of this?" she asked, trying to sound practical, but her voice came out weak. $200,000 once the marriage is registered, and if you stay by his side until he wakes up, visiting, caring for him, another $300,000 when he's discharged. $500,000. Stella only made $3,000 a month at the shop. That kind of money would change her life. She could open her own business, get out of renting, find stability. But marrying an unconscious stranger? This sounded like one of those absurd stories she saw on TV, not something that would happen to her. "I need to think," Stella said, handing back the papers. "You have until tomorrow afternoon. After that, there won't be any more time," Eleanor replied, leaving the envelope on the workbench. "Stella, I know this is a lot, but Julian is a good man. He cares about people. He wanted to know you, and now you can save him." Eleanor turned and walked back to the luxury car waiting on the street. Stella stood there, frozen, staring at the envelope as if it were a bomb about to explode. The afternoon faded over the city, and her life had just been turned upside down. That night, Stella could barely sleep. Her mind raced with everything. Was any of this real? Could it be some kind of scam? She picked up her phone and searched. Julian Thorne. She found news about his company, environmental restoration projects, sustainability awards, photos of him at events, always discreet, a shy smile. He didn't seem like the typical spoiled heir. He seemed like someone who took his work seriously. She thought of her father, Javier. He had never spoken of another family. Had he suffered because of this? Had he wanted to find that son and couldn't? His life had been so hard, so simple. And now she was discovering he had another son, raised with a silver spoon in a completely different world. In the morning, Stella called Eleanor. "I accept, but I want everything documented. A contract, witnesses, guarantees. Everything will be done as transparently as possible," Eleanor assured her. "This afternoon, you'll go to the hospital to meet the lawyer. Tomorrow, if everything feels right for you, we will hold the ceremony." Stella hung up and looked at herself in the mirror. Who was she now? Still the mechanic who woke early and worked late, or someone about to step into a world she had never imagined? Westview Medical Center was in a prestigious part of the city, surrounded by manicured trees and gardens. Stella arrived by bus, still wearing her jeans and a simple t-shirt. She felt curious glances at the reception, as if she didn't belong there. Eleanor was waiting for her in the hall, accompanied by a man in a suit. "Stella, this is Mr. Sterling, the family's lawyer. He will explain all the details of the agreement." They went up to a private room. Mr. Sterling opened a folder and began to speak of clauses, deadlines, responsibilities. Stella listened intently, trying to commit every word to memory. The contract was clear. She would marry Julian, remain his legal wife until he woke and recovered, and then there would be an amicable divorce. No obligations beyond regular hospital visits while he was hospitalized. "And what if he doesn't wake up?" Stella asked, the question no one wanted to voice. Mr. Sterling exchanged a look with Eleanor. "The doctors are optimistic. Scans show brain activity, but if the worst happens, you would legally remain his widow and heiress. It's a risk we are taking." Stella nodded slowly. "I want to see him before I make a final decision." Eleanor stood up. "Of course, let's go." They walked down the white corridors to the intensive care unit. Eleanor stopped before a door. "He's in here. You can go in alone. Take your time." Stella took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The room was spacious, filled with equipment, but silent. And there, in the bed, he was. Julian, the half-brother she never knew. The man she was about to marry. He seemed to be in his 40s, dark, slightly graying hair, a peaceful face. The tubes and wires connected to his body contrasted with the serenity of his expression. Stella Reyes approached slowly, as if entering a sacred space. She looked at his face, trying to find something of her father in him. Perhaps the shape of his nose. Perhaps the line of his jaw. "Hi," she whispered, feeling foolish for speaking to an unconscious man. "I'm Stella. Your sister." The word felt strange coming from her lips. "It seems we have a shared history neither of us truly knew." The silence of the room was broken only by the rhythmic beeping of the monitors. "I don't know if you can hear me say this, but I'm going to accept. I'll do what they're asking. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it seems like you're someone who does good things. And if I can help, even in this strange way, I think I should." Stella touched his hand, and it was like touching a cold stone. But it was human. It was real. He was there, alive, depending on decisions she hadn't imagined she'd have to make just yesterday. She left the room with tear-filled eyes and found Eleanor Thorne waiting. "I'll do it," Stella said. "But tomorrow. Today I need to pack my things, tell my boss. I need some time." "Tomorrow at 2 in the afternoon then," Eleanor Thorne agreed. "We'll bring the justice of the peace here. It will be simple and quick." Stella returned home in a whirlwind of emotions. She called her boss and invented an excuse about an urgent family matter. She picked out the most presentable clothes she owned, black dress pants and a white blouse. It wasn't wedding attire, but then again, it would be the strangest wedding anyone could ever have. That night, sitting in the small living room of her rented apartment, Stella thought of the mother who had left, the father who had died too soon, and the unknown brother who now needed her. Life had these absurd twists that no one could foresee. The next morning, Stella woke up with a knot in her stomach. She showered, put on the clothes she had set aside, and looked at herself in the mirror. "You're getting married today," she told her reflection, and the phrase sounded surreal. She arrived at Westview Medical Center promptly at 2 in the afternoon. Eleanor Thorne was there, accompanied by Mr. Sterling and a justice of the peace. There were also 2 witnesses Stella didn't know, hospital staff apparently. "Are you ready?" Eleanor Thorne asked gently. Stella nodded. "Let's just do it, before I change my mind." They entered Julian Thorne's room. The justice of the peace opened a folder and began to read the legal terms of the marriage. Stella listened without truly processing the words. She looked at Julian, lying there, oblivious to everything. In some deep place within his consciousness, did he know what was happening? Would he approve? "Stella Reyes, do you take Julian Thorne as your lawful husband?" The judge's voice echoed in the room. "I do," she replied, and her voice sounded firmer than she expected. The judge turned to the bed. "Julian Thorne, through your legal representative, do you accept Stella Reyes as your lawful wife?" Mr. Sterling replied. "Yes, he does." "Then by the powers vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife." An awkward silence followed. The judge looked at Stella. "You may kiss the groom." Stella felt her face warm. This wasn't anticipated, but all the witnesses were watching. Trembling, she leaned in and placed a light, chaste kiss on Julian's cold lips. And at that moment, something happened. One of the monitors emitted a different beep. The nurse attending everything quickly moved closer. His heart rate increased. She said, surprised. There was a reaction. Everyone exchanged glances. Stella pulled back, startled. Had he felt it? Was he there on some level, conscious of that bizarre moment? The doctor rushed in. He checked the machines, examined Julian. "It's a response to stimuli. It might not mean anything, but it's a positive sign. Keep talking to him, touching him. It might help." Stella signed the papers with a trembling hand. It was official now. She was Stella Thorne, wife to a man she didn't know. And that kiss, however symbolic, had provoked something in him, some spark of consciousness that still existed deep inside. When she left Westview Medical Center that day, Stella wore a simple band on her finger and carried a marriage contract in her purse. Her life had completely changed, and the most frightening thing was that she had no idea where it would all lead. The first few days as a wife were the strangest of Stella's life. Eleanor had insisted she visit Julian daily, and though it was part of the agreement, Stella found herself wanting to go. There was something about this silent man that sparked her curiosity. Who was he, really? What kind of life had he led? Eleanor brought boxes with his belongings, his journals, photos, company documents. "I thought you might like to get to know him while you wait for him to wake up," she explained. "Julian was always private, but these things say a lot about who he is." Stella began reading the journals one rainy afternoon, sitting beside his hospital bed. His handwriting was firm, the words carefully chosen. He wrote about environmental projects with a passion that overflowed from the pages. He spoke of his dream to restore degraded areas, to bring life back to places that progress had destroyed. He also wrote about frustrations, meetings with investors who only thought of profit, politicians who promised support and vanished, relationships that failed because he was married to his work. "You were pretty lonely, weren't you?" Stella commented aloud, as if he could hear her. "Work, work, work, just like Dad. Our dad. She laughed to herself. Funny how we have things in common without ever having met. One day, while reading about a reforestation project he had undertaken in the Santa Monica Mountains, Stella began to talk about herself. She spoke of her childhood with Javier, about how he had taught her to work on cars since she was very small, how she had inherited from him a fondness for fixing broken things. "I think you and I are alike in that," she said, touching his cold hand. "You fix forests, I fix engines, both of us trying to mend things the world has broken." The nurses started greeting her by name. "Hi, Stella. Here to see your husband?" It felt bizarre to hear that, but gradually, it began to feel natural. She would arrive, talk with the medical team about his condition, sit by his bed, read, tell stories, hold his hand. The doctor explained that human interaction could accelerate recovery. Comatose brains respond to familiar voices, to touches, to emotional stimuli. Keep doing what you're doing. Stella began bringing music. She discovered in his journals that Julian enjoyed indie folk, artists like the Lumineers and Bon Iver. She would play the songs softly on her phone. "You have good taste, you know, nothing like some cheesy pop." One afternoon she brought photos of Javier, old, faded, but they were all she had of her father. She showed them to Julian, even knowing he couldn't see. "This is him, our dad. A working man, greasy most of the time, but honest. You would have liked him, and he would have been proud of you, of what you built." It was during one of these visits that something different happened. Stella was recounting the day she got her first bicycle, used, all scratched up, which Javier had fixed with his own hands, when she felt a light squeeze of her hand. Weak, almost imperceptible, but it was there. "Julian?" she called, her heart racing. "Are you hearing me?" Nothing. But that squeeze had been real. She was certain. She called the nurse who performed tests. "His reflexes are improving. He's responding more and more to stimuli. It's a very good sign, Stella." From that day on, Stella intensified her visits. She would go in the morning before work and return at night. She read his projects aloud, updated him on the company's progress. Eleanor had given her access to reports, so she could keep Julian informed about everything. It was as if she was keeping his life warm while he couldn't be there to live it. Eleanor also visited regularly. One day, the two of them were having coffee in the hospital cafeteria when the woman said, "You know, Stella, I was wrong about you." "Wrong how?" "I thought you would only do this for the money, that you would only come here to fulfill the agreement. But you truly care about him, don't you?" Stella stirred her coffee, lost in thought. "I never expected this to happen, but it's strange. The more I get to know him, the more I feel like I should have known him sooner, that we lost so much time. He's my brother, Eleanor, and I had no one. Now I do." "He didn't have anyone either," Eleanor confessed. "After the divorce, he became even more withdrawn. His ex-wife couldn't handle his dedication to his work. She said he loved trees more than he loved her." "Then she was foolish," Stella replied. "Some people change the world. Some people just complain. She chose to complain." Eleanor smiled. "You're direct. I like that." That night, Stella returned to the room and sat in her usual chair. "Your ex was a bit foolish, you know. But relax, I'm not going to abandon you." She laughed. "What a crazy thing, right? We get married, but we'll only get to know each other later. It's like those online dating relationships, only more extreme." She touched his face, his hair. There was a strange intimacy in those gestures. She was caring for him as if they had been together for years, but they barely knew each other. It was all the opposite of what it should be. "You need to wake up, Julian. So much is happening. The company is doing well. The projects are moving forward, but they need you. I need you." She paused, surprised by her own confession. "I want to truly know you. I want you to tell me these stories, not just read them in your journals. I want to hear your voice, to see how you laugh. Come on, man. Wake up." And for the first time, Stella realized she wasn't just there for money or duty. She was there because she wanted to be. Because that man lying in that bed had become important to her in a way she couldn't explain. 3 weeks after the wedding, Stella had already reorganized her entire life around hospital visits. She had reduced her hours at the shop, arranging with her boss to work only part-time. Eleanor had deposited the first part of the agreement, and with that money, Stella had paid debts and rent in advance. The feeling of financial breathing room for the first time in her life was liberating, but she discovered it wasn't the money that made her wake up excited every day. It was the possibility of seeing Julian, of being by his side, of rooting for any small progress. The doctors were optimistic. Julian was moving from a deep coma to a more superficial state. His eyes moved beneath his eyelids, a sign he was having dreams. His reflexes had improved considerably. The medical team began to speak of the possibility of him waking up in the coming weeks. Stella celebrated the news alone in his room. "Did you hear that? You're going to wake up. I'll finally know what color your eyes are because I know everything about you except that." She laughed, but felt a chill in her stomach. What if, when he woke up, he was furious about everything that had happened? What if he wanted nothing to do with her? Eleanor noticed Stella's anxiety. "He will understand, I promise. Julian has always been rational. He'll see that we did what was best for him." What if he doesn't see it that way? What if he thinks we forced the situation? "Stella, you saved him. You saved the company, saved jobs, saved his legacy. How could he be angry about that?" But Stella couldn't calm down. She spent her nights tossing and turning, imagining 1,000 scenarios. And to make matters worse, there was something else. Something she could barely admit to herself. She had fallen in love. Not with who he was when awake. She didn't know that version. But with the person she discovered in his journals, in Eleanor's stories, in the photos, in his projects. She had fallen in love with his essence. And that was terrifying because it was unilateral. He hadn't chosen to feel anything for her. Not yet. One day, as she read aloud one of his old spring restoration projects, her voice broke. Stella started to cry. "I'm sorry. It's just, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I came here for the money. I came because I thought it was a simple agreement. But now I want you to wake up. I want you to be well. And I'm afraid that when you come back, all of this will disappear. That you'll see me as a stranger who invaded your life." She wiped away her tears, embarrassed to be so emotional. And that's when it happened. Julian's hand moved. It wasn't an involuntary reflex like the other times. It was a deliberate movement, searching. His fingers found hers and squeezed, gently, but with intention. Stella froze. "Julian?" His eyes remained closed, but his hand continued to hold hers, firmly as if saying, "I am here, I heard you." Stella pressed the call button. The nurse came running. The doctor was called. They ran tests, checked reactions. "He's coming back," the doctor confirmed. "It could be a matter of days now. Keep talking to him, Stella. Your voice is bringing him back." That night, Stella didn't want to leave. She asked permission to stay and slept in the room's armchair holding his hand. And for the first time in weeks, she slept peacefully. The next morning, it was Eleanor who brought unexpected news. "Stella, I need to tell you something. Julian's ex-wife, Camille Dubois, found out about the accident. She wants to visit him." Stella felt her stomach clench. "And you're going to let her?" "I can't stop her. They were married for 5 years. She has the right to say goodbye in case the worst happened. But now that he's getting better, I think she just wants to see him one last time." "She didn't care about him all this time, and now she shows up?" Eleanor sighed. "I know, but maybe she's remorseful. People make mistakes, Stella." Julian's ex-wife, Camille Dubois, appeared the next day. She was elegant, beautiful, the type of woman who frequented his former social circles. She entered the room cautiously, as if afraid of what she might find. Stella was there, as always. The two women silently measured each other. "You must be Stella," Camille said, her voice trembling. "Eleanor told me about the marriage." "Yes," Stella replied, lifting her chin. "I am his wife." Camille looked at Julian, and her eyes filled with tears. "I was foolish. When I heard of the accident, I realized I still had feelings, that I left him for selfish reasons." Stella said nothing. She just watched as Camille approached the bed, touched Julian's face, whispered things she couldn't hear. A part of her felt anger. How dare she show up now? But another part, The more mature part understood that Camille was dealing with remorse, with the what if. After a few minutes, Camille stepped away. "I'm sorry I came. I just needed to see him one last time, to say what I didn't say before." She looked at Stella. "Take good care of him. He deserves someone who values him." When Camille left, Stella returned to the chair beside the bed. "Your ex showed up. She seemed regretful. But relax, she's gone and I'm still here." She smiled. "I'm stubborn. I'm not going anywhere." And in that moment, as if he had heard, Julian moved his head slightly in the direction of her voice. Stella held her breath. He was nearing his return. And when he did, she would have to face the reality of everything that had happened. The morning began like all the others. Stella arrived at Westview Medical Center at 7, greeted the nursing staff, and entered the room with the coffee she always brought. But when she opened the door, something was different. Julian's eyes were half open, still unfocused, confused, but open. "Nurse!" Stella cried out, dropping the coffee on the floor. "He's waking up!" The medical team swarmed the room in seconds. They performed assessments, neurological tests, checked vital signs. Stella stood leaning against the wall, her heart pounding erratically, unable to take her eyes off him. Julian blinked slowly, trying to orient himself. The tubes were gradually removed. He coughed, tried to speak, but couldn't on the first few attempts. The doctor turned to Stella. "He's coming back. The process is gradual. In the next few hours, he'll become more conscious. But there might be confusion, disorientation. That's normal." Stella nodded, unable to speak. She wanted to get closer, but she was afraid. How would he react when he saw her? Hours later, when the medical hustle subsided and Julian was more stable, she could finally be alone with him. She approached slowly, his eyes still tired, focused on her, dark brown. So that was the color. "Hi," she whispered. "Who?" His voice came out hoarse, weak from weeks of disuse. "I am Stella," she said, utterly at a loss for what else to add. How do you tell someone who has just emerged from a coma that you are legally bound as their spouse? Eleanor entered at that moment, sparing Stella the daunting task of explaining on her own. "Julian, son, you are in the hospital. You were in a car accident. You've been in recovery for 5 weeks. Julian closed his eyes, processing the information. 5 weeks? You were in a coma, but now you are back. You are safe." He looked around the room, trying to piece things together. His gaze settled back on Stella. "Stella, that name, do I know it?" Stella felt a tightness in her chest. "We have never met before, but we are siblings, half-siblings. Javier was my father." The confusion on his face deepened. "Javier, my biological father." "That's right," Stella confirmed. "It's a long story, but I came here to help you while you recovered." The doctor re-entered and asked them to let Julian rest. "He needs time to reorient himself. We will gradually introduce information. Do not overwhelm him now." Stella left the room, her legs feeling unsteady. He was awake, alive, conscious, and he had no idea that he was married to her. In the following days, Julian recovered rapidly. His memory slowly returned, save for a few gaps concerning the days leading up to the accident. He remembered the company, the projects, Camille, his family. But the part about a trust fund with a deadline, the urgent need to marry, about Stella coming to his rescue, all of it remained a blur. Eleanor decided to reveal the truth gradually. First, she explained about the trust fund. Julian was incredulous. "My grandfather did this? Why?" He had antiquated ideas about family and marriage. He believed a man would only be truly responsible with a wife by his side. Julian shook his head, frustrated by his own perceived weakness. "And what happened? Did I lose everything?" "No," Eleanor replied, exchanging a glance with Stella. "Stella here saved you. She agreed to marry you so the trust fund stipulations would be met." The silence that followed was heavy. Julian looked at Stella as if truly seeing her for the very first time. "You... what?" "I know it sounds crazy," Stella began, her voice trembling slightly. "But Eleanor explained everything to me. The situation was urgent, and I believed it was the right thing to do for our father, for you, for the company. "We are married?" he asked, still unable to grasp it. "On paper. Only on paper. It was all legal with a judge, witnesses, but it was solely to ensure you didn't lose everything." Julian ran a hand across his face, trying to process it all. "I don't know what to say. Thank you. I'm sorry. This is bizarre, I know," Stella finished for him, "but it was what we had to do." He remained silent for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he smiled. It was a faint, tired, yet genuine smile. "You must think you've stumbled into a family of absolute lunatics." Stella Reyes chuckled, relieved. "A little, but I'm not exactly normal myself, so I think we match." From that day on, Julian Thorne and Stella Reyes truly began to talk. He was still weak, undergoing physical therapy and recovery, but they spent hours in conversation. She shared stories of her life, about Reyes Auto Repair, about Javier. He spoke of his projects, his plans to expand the company, and his deep passion for environmental restoration, a passion born in childhood when he witnessed a polluted river brought back to life. "You know," he remarked one late afternoon, "I wish I had known Javier. I wish I had known you sooner. We've lost so much time." "We have time now," Stella Reyes replied. "Not much, given the agreement, but—" "About the agreement," Julian Thorne interrupted. "I don't want you to feel trapped by it. If you want a divorce now, I understand. You've already done more than enough for me." Stella Reyes felt a knot tighten in her throat. It was the perfect cue to pull away, but she found herself unwilling. "Not yet. Let's get you fully recovered first. We can address that later." He agreed, and a different spark was in his eyes, as if he too was in no hurry to bring it to a close. Julian Thorne was discharged from Westview Medical Center 2 weeks later. He still required medical supervision and ongoing physical therapy, but he could continue his recovery at the Thorne Estate in Bel Air. The house was a majestic mansion, boasting sprawling gardens, ancient trees, and a sense of peace Stella Reyes had never before experienced. Eleanor Thorne had meticulously arranged for nurses and physical therapists to provide daily care. "Will you continue to visit?" Julian Thorne asked when Stella Reyes first appeared at the estate, hesitant and unsure of her place there. "If you'd like," she replied. "I mean, technically I am your wife, so I suppose it makes sense for me to be around?" He smiled. "It does make sense, and besides, I would like that." Stella Reyes began visiting him daily after work. They would sit in the gardens, and he would show her the restoration projects he had undertaken around the property. "This area here was just lawn before. I planted native species. In a few years, it will be teeming with life." "You truly take this seriously," Stella Reyes observed admiringly. "It's my life. It always has been. Before, I used to think it made me solitary, that I had chosen trees instead of people. But now I think perhaps I just hadn't found the right person." He looked at her as he said this, and Stella Reyes felt her face grow warm. Their conversations deepened. Julian Thorne spoke of his marriage to Camille Dubois and how he felt guilty for not being the husband she had expected. She wanted dinner parties, social events, an active social life, and I wanted to be out in the wilderness planting seedlings. We simply had nothing in common. "She appeared at the hospital," Stella Reyes said, "when you were in a coma." She seemed regretful. "Is that so?" he asked, surprised. I don't know if she regretted leaving or was just scared by the accident. Either way, that ended a long time ago. I don't hold a grudge. Stella liked that answer. He wasn't bitter. He had moved on. One evening during dinner, Stella had started staying for meals at his invitation. Julian brought up a delicate subject. "About our marriage. We need to talk about it eventually." "I know," Stella replied, stirring her food. "But there's no rush, right? You're still recovering." "It's not about divorce," he clarified. "It's about truly getting to know you. We did everything backward. Got married first, got to know each other later, so I was thinking we could date." Stella nearly choked on her wine. "Date? We're already married." "But not for real, not emotionally. So I wanted the chance to really win you over, to do things right this time." He seemed nervous, which was endearing. "If you want to, of course." Stella felt her heart race. You want to win me over? I do, because you're incredible, Stella. You came out of nowhere and saved my life, and then you stayed. And the more I get to know you, the more I want to keep knowing you, the more I... He hesitated. The more I realize you're not just here out of duty or for money. You care. And I care too. Stella couldn't hold back her tears. I thought when you woke up you'd want to get rid of me, that you'd think it was all crazy and quickly end it. I thought I'd think that too, he admitted. But then I saw you and heard your voice, and I had the feeling I already knew you. Eleanor told me you stayed with me every day, that you read my journals, played music, talked. You took care of me when I was just an unconscious stranger. You weren't a stranger. You were my brother. And then... She stopped, embarrassed. And then? He gently prompted. And then you became more than that. I grew attached. I fell in love with the person I discovered you were. And I was afraid that person wasn't real, that when you woke up, you'd be different. Julian stood and walked to her. He took her hands. I am real, and I'm also falling in love. With this strong, honest, and brave woman standing in front of me, he smiled. So, Stella Reyes, or is it Thorne now? Will you date me? Your own husband? Stella laughed through her tears. I accept. That's the craziest thing anyone has ever asked me, but I accept. They kissed there, in the garden beneath the stars, a kiss that was and wasn't a first, a kiss that closed and opened cycles, a kiss that said sometimes life does things the wrong way to get to the right place. In the following weeks, Julian and Stella lived a love story that was unique. They were already married, but they were discovering each other. He took her to see the company's environmental projects. She taught him about mechanics, showing him how to fix engines. They walked hand in hand, dined out, and talked late into the night about everything and nothing. Eleanor watched it all with a satisfied smile. I had hoped you two would get along, but this has surpassed all my expectations. The company also returned to its routine. Julian gradually reassumed his duties, and to everyone's surprise, he began to include Stella in meetings. She has a practical vision that I lack, he explained to his partners, and she's learning fast. Stella discovered she had a talent for management, especially in logistics and operations. It was like fixing engines, only on a larger scale. 6 months after the accident, one late afternoon in the garden of the Thorne estate, Julian knelt before her. Stella looked at him, puzzled. What are you doing? I know we're already married, he began, taking a small box from his pocket. But that marriage was out of necessity. It wasn't a choice. So I wanted to ask you properly. Stella, will you marry me again? This time because we love each other, because we choose this, because we want to build a life together. Stella looked at the ring, simple, delicate, perfect, and at the man kneeling before her, the half-brother who became her husband, who became the love of her life. Yes, 1,000 times yes. The news of the second wedding caught everyone by surprise. The company's employees found it romantic. Julian's friends were confused. Aren't you already married? Eleanor cried when they told her. My father would have found this hilarious. He wanted to force a marriage and ended up creating a true love story. Stella and Julian decided on a simple ceremony, just with close friends and family. No pomp. They wanted something that truly represented who they were. They chose to hold it at one of the company's restoration projects, in an area that had once been degraded and was now verdant with new life. It was too symbolic to ignore. On their wedding day, Stella wore a simple white dress, nothing elaborate. Julian was nervous, adjusting his tie 1,000 times. I already married you while you were asleep, he quipped. Why am I nervous now? Because now you're awake, Stella replied, straightening his tie. And this time, you'll remember. The ceremony was deeply moving. The judge who had officiated their first marriage offered to preside over this one as well. To close the circle, he had said. When it was time for their vows, Stella began. Julian, 6 months ago I entered your life in the strangest way possible. I didn't know who you were. I didn't know I would fall in love. I didn't know an obligation would become the greatest blessing of my life. Today I choose you again, but this time with full awareness. I love you, and I will love you every day to come." Julian wiped away tears before he began. "Stella, you saved my life in every possible way. You brought me back when I was lost. You showed me that family isn't just blood. It's choice, it's presence, it's care. You are my sister, my wife, my companion, my love. And I promise to honor that every single day." When they kissed, it was unlike that kiss in the hospital. This one was conscious, desired, real. It was their true beginning. The reception was held in the estate's garden. Simple food, good music, cherished loved ones. The company employees were there, as were Stella's colleagues from the auto shop. Two worlds converged, celebrating that improbable union. Amidst the celebration, an older man approached Stella. He was one of the company's forest engineers. "You know, I've worked with Julian since he founded the company. I watched him dedicate his entire life to these projects, but it always felt like something was missing. Now I see what it was. He needed you." Stella smiled, deeply moved. "I think we needed each other. It's true, and may I tell you something? Javier would be proud of both of you." That statement touched Stella profoundly. She looked at Julian, who was animatedly discussing a new riparian forest restoration project with some employees. He seemed whole in a way his old journals never revealed. He had found the balance between the work he loved and the personal life that had always eluded him. Later, as the reception drew to a close and the last guests departed, Julian and Stella found themselves alone in the garden. He pulled her close for a dance, even without music. "Do you know what I was just thinking?" "What?" "That we should have children, not now, but someday, to continue Javier's legacy, to teach them about fixing things, engines, forests, the world." Stella rested her head against his chest. "I would love that. But first, we need to truly savor this beginning. We still have plenty of time." "We have the rest of our lives," he agreed, "and I intend to cherish every single second." That night, lying together for the first time as a true couple, Stella thought about their entire journey. From that afternoon at the auto repair shop when Eleanor appeared with an absurd proposal, to that very moment, married again to the man who had become the reason she woke up smiling every day. Life had a way of taking such strange turns. Sometimes you agree to do something for money and end up gaining so much more than you ever imagined. You end up gaining love, family, purpose. "Thank you," Julian whispered in the dark. "Why?" "For saying yes, for staying, for loving me when I didn't even know you existed." Stella kissed him slowly. "Thank you for waking up, for giving me the chance to get to know the incredible person you are, for loving me back." The following months were about building. Julian was fully recovered, returning to his field projects. And this time, Stella went with him. She had left the auto repair shop and was now officially working at the company, managing the operational side. She discovered a talent for organization and logistics, and the employees adored her. She had a direct, straightforward approach that worked perfectly with Julian's technical sensibility. Together, they created a new project, an initiative to teach sustainable mechanics in rural communities, leveraging her knowledge and his company's resources. It was the perfect union of their worlds. "We fix machines and teach how to care for nature at the same time," Stella enthusiastically explained during investor presentations. "It's about giving people the tools to sustain themselves without destroying the environment." Eleanor commented in one of the meetings, "You two together are unstoppable. Alone you were good. Together you are extraordinary." And it was true. They complemented each other in a way no one could have foreseen. Differences in origin, upbringing and experience, instead of pulling them apart, drew them closer. Each brought a unique perspective that enriched the other. A year after their second wedding, Stella discovered she was pregnant. She told Julian one afternoon in the garden, in the same spot where he had proposed to her again. He was speechless for a moment, then hugged her with such force that she had to ask him to loosen his grip. "We're going to be parents," and he repeated, incredulous. "We're going to have a child." "Or a daughter," Stella corrected, laughing. "And they'll grow up knowing both worlds. They'll learn to plant trees and change car oil. They'll know that family is built with love, not just blood." Julian kissed her tenderly. "Just like we learned, that pregnancy sealed everything definitively. Not that they needed any more confirmation of their love, but a child represented the future. It represented that crazy story, which began with an absurd agreement and a hasty wedding beside a hospital bed, had turned into something lasting, solid, real. Eleanor, who was now a constant presence in their lives, was radiant with the news that she would be a grandmother at heart. "I'm going to spoil this child rotten," she warned, "and you won't be able to complain." "Spoil them as much as you like," Julian allowed. "You deserve it. Without you, none of this would have happened." "It was risky," Eleanor admitted. "I didn't know if it would work. But I bet that you two had something in common beyond Javier. And you did. You had the capacity to truly love." Lena's birth was on a rainy March day. Julian almost fainted in the delivery room, but he firmly held Stella's hand throughout labor. When they heard their daughter's first cry, they both cried too. It was a cry of relief, of joy, of gratitude for everything that had happened to bring them to that moment. "She has Javier's eyes," Stella said when they held the baby for the first time. "And she'll have her mother's strength and her father's stubbornness," Julian joked, running his finger over the tiny hand that closed around his. The first months with Lena were intense, sleepless nights, daily lessons, constant discoveries. But Stella and Julian faced everything together, just as they had faced everything from the beginning, with partnership, patience, and a lot of love. The house, which had once been silent and organized, became a zone of diapers, toys, and lullabies, sung at 3 in the morning. And they loved every second of that mess. Eleanor visited almost every day, helping, giving advice, holding her granddaughter with that passionate look of a doting grandmother. One day when Lena was 6 months old, Julian brought a surprise. "I bought a degraded area in the interior. I want to turn it into an environmental reserve and name it after Lena. It will be her legacy, a place she will watch grow along with her." Stella was moved. "You're the best dad in the world, you know. I'm trying to be at least half the father Javier was to you. You already are, and it will be incredible to see Lena grow up in this world we are building." The years passed. Lena grew up curious, clever, full of life. At 3 years old, she was already asking about everything: why trees are green, how a car works, why the sky changes color. Stella and Julian answered with patience, teaching, showing, involving her in their projects. The company continued to grow. The Sustainable Mechanics Project won national awards and garnered international attention. Stella became a reference in the field, giving lectures, teaching, inspiring other women to follow unconventional paths. Julian expanded reforestation projects to other states, always with the philosophy of involving local communities. But the most important thing was what they built every day at home. Their marriage strengthened with time. There were arguments, of course. There were difficult days. But there were many more moments of complicity, of laughter, of glances that said everything without needing words. One night, 5 years after their second wedding, Stella found Julian's old journal that she had read during the days he was in a coma. She leafed through the old pages, reading his anguish about loneliness, about not finding his place in the world. And then, with a pen, she wrote on the last blank page, "Julian, I read this entire journal when you were asleep. I came to know your dreams, your fears, your loneliness, and I wanted you to know that today, 5 years later, you are no longer alone. You have a family that loves you. You have a daughter who thinks you are a superhero. You have a wife who falls in love with you again every day. That loneliness is gone, and in its place something beautiful was born, built by us both, brick by brick, day after day. I love you. Today, tomorrow, always. Stella." She left the journal on his nightstand. The next morning, Julian woke up, read it, and cried. He hugged Stella tightly and whispered, "Thank you for saving me, for continuing to save me every day." "We save each other," she corrected. "Every day each other." Years later, when Lena was 10, she asked how her parents had met. Stella and Julian exchanged glances, smiling. It was a complicated story to explain to a child. "It was a different kind of story," my Julian began. "Your mother appeared in my life when I needed her most, when I was lost, and she brought me back." "Like a superhero?" Lena asked, excited. "Exactly like a superhero," Stella confirmed. "But your father saved me too. He gave me a family, a purpose, a love I didn't even know existed. You saved each other, Lena concluded with the simple wisdom of children. That's right, Julian agreed, and then we brought you to complete our family. Lena hugged them both. I love you, and I love our story, even without knowing all the details yet. One day we'll tell you everything, Stella promised, when you're older, but you already know the important part. We love each other very much, and you are the greatest gift that love gave us. That night, after putting Lena to sleep, Stella and Julian sat in the garden as they had for years. The trees he had planted when they first met were now tall, leafy, full of life. It was like looking at their relationship. What started small, fragile, improbable, had grown strong and beautiful. Do you regret anything? Julian asked suddenly. Stella thought for a moment. No, not even the crazy way it started. Because if it had been different, maybe it wouldn't have worked. We needed that absurd beginning to build this. And you? My only regret is not having met you sooner. But then I think maybe we weren't ready before. Perhaps we needed that exact moment, those crazy circumstances, to be ready for each other. Always the romantic, Stella teased, leaning her head on his shoulder. Learned from the best, Julian replied, kissing the top of her head. Time continued to pass. Lena grew into an engaged young woman, blending her father's environmental passion with her mother's practicality. She chose to study environmental engineering, specializing in sustainable management. I'm going to continue what you both started, she announced when she entered college, but in my own way. Stella and Julian could not have been prouder. They had raised not only a daughter, but a continuation of the legacy that Javier had unknowingly begun, a legacy of honest work, of caring for the world, of true love. On the 20th anniversary of Julian's accident, they returned to Westview Medical Center. It was not a somber visit, but a celebration. They found some of the nurses who had cared for him back then. The doctor, now older, was also there and became emotional upon seeing them. You two are my favorite story, he confessed. In all my years of medicine, I've never seen anything like it. A coma that resulted in true love. It's as if destiny planned it all. Sometimes I think about that, Julian said. If that accident hadn't happened, I never would have found Stella. I never would have the life I have today. It's strange to be grateful for something so terrible. It's not the accident that matters, Stella reflected. It's what we built afterward. We could have let it be just a tragedy, just a business arrangement, but we chose to transform it into something beautiful. They returned home that day, hand in hand, as they always did. Their journey had been long, winding, full of impossible twists, but it had been worth every second. Every tear, every fear, every moment of uncertainty had led them there, to a life built with love, respect, and true partnership. That night, Stella wrote in the new journal she had started years ago. Today marks 20 years since everything changed. 20 years since an absurd proposal became the best decision I ever made. Julian is sleeping beside me, softly snoring as he always does. Lena is in her room, probably awake reading some scientific article. And I am here, grateful for every day of this improbable life. We don't choose when love arrives. Sometimes it knocks on your door when you least expect it, dressed as tragedy, disguised as obligation. But if you have the courage to open the door, to let it in, to care even when it seems impossible, sometimes you discover that was exactly what was missing. Julian saved me as much as I saved him, and together we save each other every day. That is our miracle, not the hurried wedding, not the awakening from the coma, but the daily choice to keep loving, to keep building, to keep going together, forever. And so concludes the story of Stella and Julian, the mechanic and the magnate who found the truest love in the most improbable of circumstances. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to leave your like, subscribe to the channel for more emotional narratives, and comment below sharing what you thought. What was the moment that moved you the most? Do you believe love can emerge from the most unexpected situations? Share your opinion and let's continue this conversation together. Your participation is what keeps these stories alive. Until the next journey, and may your heart always be open to the miracles that life prepares.